This is worksheet number 12. In worksheet 11, we mentioned two cases that Rav Papa told us. The first one was about a shomer chinam, an unpaid watchman, who admitted that he was negligent. And the second case of Rav Papa was a shomer sachar, a paid watchman, who admitted nignava, that it was stolen. Now, in worksheet 12, we're going to deal with a third case of Rav Papa. The only difference here, besides what kind of watchman we're talking about, is that in this case, case number 3, we're actually going to divide it into 3A and 3B, because there's two different versions of what Rav Papa said about this case. Two different understandings of what the halacha is in this case. So the case is the same in 3A and 3B, but the halacha is different, and we'll see about that right now. Starting with the beginning, shoel, she'omer hareini mishalim. If you have a borrower who says, "Behold, I will pay." So this case is different than case 1 and 2. Case 1 was a unpaid watchman. Case 2 was a paid watchman. Case 3, both 3A and 3B, is a shoel, a borrower. And in this case, the borrower says to the owner, "Behold, I will pay." We know the halacha is, for almost everything, a borrower has the highest level of responsibility, and he has to pay for almost everything. Whether he was negligent, of course, or whether it was stolen, or even if an onus happens, even if it's an accident, a borrower has the highest level of responsibility, and he has to pay. So he tells the owner, right, he doesn't have the item he was watching for whatever reason, and he says, "I'm going to pay for it." So the first version, 3A, the first version of this case, the halacha is lo makni le kfela. The owner does not sell him the kefel. We know both in case 1 and case 2, Rav Papa said the owner does sell the kefel to the watchman. But in 3A, by a borrower, Rav Papa says no. The shoel, the borrower, does not get the kefel, even though he says to the owner, "I'm going to pay for it." Why not? Why doesn't the watchman get the kefel in this case? The Gemara explains, "B'mai havele lemiftar nafshei." With what could he have exempted himself? Let's stop there for a minute. If you remember back in worksheet 11, in cases 1 and 2, both of those cases, the watchman got the kefel. And if you remember, the reason was because in both of those cases, the watchman could have said something that would have exempted himself. In the first case, by the shomer chinam, he could have said it was stolen. And in the second case, by the shomer sachar, by the paid watchman, he could have said that an onus happened, that shvura umesa, it broke or it died. But in this case, the shoel, the borrower, really has nothing to say. He has nothing to say that could have exempted himself. Or so we might think. The Gemara now has one possible thing, maybe. Could the shoel have said this? B'meisa machmas malacha? Could he have said that it died from normal use? We do know there is one thing that a shoel can be exempt for. We know he's chayiv in almost all cases. He has to pay almost always, like we said before, whether he's negligent, of course, or whether it's stolen or lost, or even if an accident happens, he always has to pay. There's one case where he would be exempt, and that's called mesa machmas malacha, dying from normal use. The example we gave in class is if somebody borrows a lawnmower and he's just mowing the lawn and all of a sudden it breaks. Not because lightning hits it, not because some crazy accident, but just normal use and it broke. That's even better than an accident. He's not responsible for that. It's a regular accident like lightning, he would be chayiv for that. But dying from normal use, mesa machmas malacha, is one thing that even a shoel, a borrower, could be exempt for. So the Gemara is maybe suggesting, maybe saying, hey, even a borrower could be exempt if he says that it was died from normal use, right? Maybe that's a way that he could have pater nafshe, he could have exempted himself. But the Gemara, at least in this case, 3a, the Gemara then says, no, the borrower could not have said that it died from normal use. Why not? Because saying that it died from normal use, that's not common. It's not something that happens so often. So the borrower wouldn't have said that, since it's not so often that that would happen. So according to this opinion, case 3a, the halacha is that the borrower does not get the kefel, because the owner really thinks to himself, listen, this person has to pay me no matter what happens. The only possible case where he could have exempted himself is if he says it died from normal use, but that's not common. So he would never have said that. So the owner is not really so impressed with this borrower for admitting that he's going to pay, and the owner does not give him the kefel. That's 3a. However, this worksheet continues, Ika de Amre, there were those who said a different version of what Rav Papa said, a different halacha, same case, but a different halacha. What did Rav Papa say about this case, case 3? We're going to call this 3b. Amar Rav Papa said, Shoel Nami, even a watchman, Kevin Sha'amar Hareini Mishalim, once he says, behold, I will pay, Makni le kfela, he does get the kefel. Just like case 1 and case 2, where the owner gives the kefel to the watchman, by a shoel also, even by a borrower, according to this version, 3b, Rav Papa holds that the shoel also gets the kefel. The borrower also gets the kefel. Why? Because he could have exempted if he wanted. Let's translate that word for word. Because if he wanted, pater nafshe, he could have exempted himself by saying that it died of normal use. So the first version of Rav Papa thought that saying that it died of normal use is not so common, so he wouldn't have said that. But in 3b, in this version, Rav Papa holds, no, even a shoel, he could have said it dies of normal use. I guess this version holds maybe even if it's not so common, but he still could have said it. So the owner is still happy if he is willing to pay without saying that. So even by a shoel, even by a borrower, according to this version, the borrower also gets the kefel.